All right, today we're going to dive deep into the playbook for a high-performing mind, and we're basing all of this on the incredible work of Andrew D. Thompson. We're going to explore some really practical strategies for how you can become more focused, more resilient, and just plain more effective, especially when the pressure is on.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Is your mind working for you, or is it working against you? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer? Well, it's usually a lot more complex than we think. We all like to assume our mind is on our team, but you know what? As we're about to find out, sometimes it can actually be our biggest opponent.
And that brings us to this first big idea, the untrained mind. The whole point here is that so many of us are walking around, navigating our lives with minds that haven't really been conditioned for peak performance. And the crazy part is, we often don't even realize how much it's holding us back.
So what does that actually feel like in your day-to-day life? I bet this sounds familiar. You're constantly being pulled in a million different directions by distractions. There's that critical little voice in your head, narrating every single mistake you make. You feel overwhelmed by stress and anxiety, and you end up in this cycle of just reacting to problems, always putting out fires, instead of having the mental strength to prevent them in the first place.
Okay, so let's get a little more specific. Let's really break down the common mental mistakes that are just derailing our performance. We're going to look at 3 of the big ones.
First up is a huge one, a simple lack of focus. We let our attention wander, we get pulled away by, the notifications, the emails, that random thought about what you need from the grocery store. The consequence is immediate and it's crystal clear. Our productivity just tanks, and we lose that sense of clarity that we absolutely need to do our best work. The second mistake? This one happens entirely inside our own heads. Oh yeah? That little voice in your head? The inner critic that is just relentless. And it's almost always tied to perfectionism, this deep-seated fear of making any mistake at all. And the fallout from this? It's just crushing. It slowly but surely erodes our confidence and makes it pretty much impossible to perform at a high level because we're just too scared to take any risks. And then there's this third major mistake, poor emotional regulation. This is what happens when the pressure is really on. Instead of staying calm and logical, we let stress or fear or anxiety just grab the steering wheel. And the result? Our emotions completely hijack our rational brain at the exact moment we need it most, sabotaging our decisions and our actions.
Okay, so we've laid out all the problems. It might sound a bit bleak, but here's the good news. There's absolutely a solution. And that brings us to the High Performance Toolkit, a whole set of strategies designed to condition your mind for success. And here's the core idea that changes everything. The mind can be conditioned just like a muscle. It's not this fixed thing you're stuck with. It's something you can actively train, strengthen, and improve with consistent practice. Seriously, getting this one concept is the key that unlocks everything else.
Right, so what is mental conditioning anyway? The easiest way to think about it is like taking your mind to the gym. It's the proactive, consistent training of these crucial mental habits like focus and resilience. This isn't about some one-time fix. It's about building routines that help you perform at your best, especially when it really, really counts. And this leads to a really crucial shift in your mindset. See, the untrained mind hits a snag and immediately goes, "Ugh, I failed." But the trained mind, it sees the exact same thing and thinks, okay, this is data. It's just feedback. It's information you can use to adjust your course, to learn, and to get better. That simple switch, it's a total game changer. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? Well, let's get into the most practical part of all this, a super concrete 3-step action plan you can literally start using today.
Yeah, think of this as your new mental workout routine. It's a simple 3-part plan. First, we're going to train your focus. Second, you're going to go head-to-head with that inner critic. And third, you'll learn how to pressure-proof your prep. Let's break them down.
All right, step 1 is all about building that focus muscle. And look, it's simple. Just find 10 or 15 minutes a day for a single task. Maybe that's focused breathing, maybe it's writing in a journal, or just working on one thing with 0 interruptions. The goal here isn't to finish some huge project. It's just to strengthen that mental muscle for concentration. Okay, step 2. This is where we take on that negative self-talk directly. The moment you catch one of those negative thoughts, I want you to literally write it down. And right next to it, you're going to write a counter statement that's based in fact and is actually supportive.
When you do this over and over, you're actively rewiring your brain's default narrative. You're building resilience from the inside out.
And finally, step 3. This is how you prepare for those high-stakes moments. Before a big presentation, a tough negotiation, whatever it is, mentally rehearse it. But here's the key. Don't just focus on what you'll say or do. Focus on how you want to feel in that moment. Calm, confident, in control. This practice builds a sense of familiarity and gives you so much more control over your response to stress.
But having a plan is one thing. Making it actually stick, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's what this final part is all about. The huge difference between just trying something and actually training yourself to build habits that last.
So, what are the keys to making this stuff stick for the long haul? First off, think consistency, not intensity. Little daily habits beat one-off heroic efforts every single time. Second, you gotta focus on your process goals, not just the outcome. So instead of I wanna win, it's I will practice my mental tools 5 times this week. And finally, you have to fully embrace that mindset shift we talked about. Treat every setback as feedback and adopt a mindset where you fail your way to excellence. And all of this really brings us to the most powerful and honestly, the most empowering idea in this whole approach. High performance isn't something that's just reserved for a few lucky people. It's not a privilege. It is a habit. It's something that anyone can build day by day through consistent mental conditioning. So the real question isn't whether you can do it. The only question is, are you ready to start training?